Thank you very much. There's also big news from the committee investigating what happened on January 6th and in the days and weeks before and after those bloodthirsty Trump-supporting rioters stormed our nation's capital. A source telling CNN that Rudy Giuliani may be willing to testify after all and under oath, but only about the bogus big lie of election fraud. The source says that Giuliani doesn't intend to waive executive or attorney-client privilege. So you've got to wonder what has changed since just last month when Rudy Giuliani was subpoenaed and his attorney said he didn't intend to provide information. Why is a guy who spread wild accusations about Hugo Chavez, about George Soros, about Antifa, and wait for it, of course, Black Lives Matter, why is he maybe reconsidering testifying?
You couldn't possibly believe that the company counting our vote, with control over our vote, is owned by two Venezuelans who were allies of Chavez, are present allies of Maduro, with a company whose chairman is a close associate and business partner of George Soros, the biggest donor to the Democrat Party, the biggest donor to Antifa, and the biggest donor to Black Lives Matter.
He got in the whole shebang. And what is going on? What is happening when people start to? Why are these people doing this? Why do they do that? Why do some of you watching believe this crazy conspiracy theory BS? It's frightening. You couldn't possibly believe that because it's not true, what he said. But Rudy Giuliani sure would have a story to tell if he testifies.
If we're wrong, we will be made fools of. But if we're right, a lot of them will go to jail. So, let's have trial by combat.
All of the above. Is there one for that? If you're wrong, you'll be made fools of, and you'll go to jail. Maybe. There's no agreement yet for Giuliani to cooperate, by the way, and we've got developments to tell you about on two trials that we have followed very closely on this show, two cases that say a whole lot about the state of justice in this country. New tonight, the January 6th committee still expects Rudy Giuliani will cooperate with its subpoena. That is, a source is telling CNN that he may be willing to engage with the committee on certain topics. So joining me now, CNN legal analyst Elliot Williams. Elliot, good evening to you, sir. So a source is telling CNN that Giuliani may be willing to testify to the committee about claims of election fraud after the 2020 presidential election. Listen to what he was saying then, and then we'll talk.
Philadelphia is a professional place for voter fraud because you have a decrepit Democrat machine that you have had in power for 60 years, and it's the reason why you have voter fraud, and there's no doubt about it. This was not an individual idea of 10 or 12 Democrat bosses. This is a plan. You would have to be a fool not to realize that. They do the same thing in exactly the same way in 10 big Democrat-controlled, in most cases, crooked city.
My question is, everyone's like, oh, Rudy's going to testify. Rudy Giuliani's going to testify. He said all of that. I mean, is it just going to say the same thing to the committee? What kind of nonsense should the committee expect to hear?
Yeah, Don, when people talk about testimony, they see it as this sort of all or nothing thing where either someone's going to come and testify from a big hearing or get hauled off in handcuffs. And, there's a world of ways that Rudy Giuliani can engage with the committee, from interviews in private or depositions, transcribed interviews, or so on. So there's a lot that they can get out of him, even if it's not specifically. I mean, now look, they can press him on these statements made at the Four Seasons Hotel, I believe.
No, Four Seasons Landscaping.
Oh, pardon me.
Four Seasons Hotel is very nice in Philly. I live there.
Okay.
But the Four Seasons Landscaping, I'm not so sure. I don't know.
I stand corrected. So they can press him on that, but there's a world of other information they can get to him, namely about the president's whereabouts, conversations the president had, and so on. So, frankly, it is in his interest and the committee's interest to negotiate and work out some terms for his testimony.
So he does not intend, I understand, to waive executive or attorney-client privilege. What actual claims of privilege can Giuliani make based on his role as Trump's lawyer slash voter fraud vigilante.
Yeah, now we got to be careful with how we talk about the privilege, because ultimately it rests either with the president or the holder of the privilege, which is, you know, the client, right? It's not really up to the attorney to be the one who waives it. Now, he can speak about anything outside of the scope of his representation of the president as his attorney. Now, look, Rudy Giuliani gave any number of public statements, including the two that you put there, Don, where he can speak to those things. Anytime he gave media interviews, anytime he went down and spoke with Georgia election officials, all of that's fair game, because those were not conversations with the president. They were not legal advice or sort of executive advice he was giving to the president.
Okay, there's a separate Trump legal issue. The former president's longtime accounting firm, Mazars, informed the Trump organization last week that it should no longer rely on nearly 10 years' worth of financial statements, and that they would no longer be their accountant. Okay, so